Welcome to today's video math lesson. We're going to cover telling time to the closest half hour. We've been practicing telling time to the closest hour and the closest half hour, and we're going to go over some of those things today. A little bit of review and a little bit of practice. So here I have my clock that I made at home. If you didn't see that video, check that one out. You can also use a wall clock if you have it. I pulled mine right off the wall. So let's talk about telling the time. So we know this is the face of a clock. These are the hands. You have the minute hand and the hour hand. And we know that if the minute hand is pointing to the 12, that means that there are 0 minutes past. And that if the hour hand is pointing to one of these the other numbers, that's what hour it is. So we say, so minutes, okay, o'clock. 3, the hour hand is pointing to the 3. It's 3 on the clock. And over time that got shorthanded or smunched down to o'clock. So on the clock, I got shortened to o'clock. That's 3 o'clock. We know that if we move the hour hand, now it's pointing at the 8. It's 8 on the clock. It's 8 o'clock. Let's try another one. Now the hour hand is pointing at the 11. What time is it? Did you say 11 o'clock? That's right. It's 11 o'clock. I'm going to try to trick you now. Or I'm not going to try to trick you. My clock's going to break. Let's get this one. What time is it now? Uh-oh. The minute hand and the hour hand are pointing at the 12. That means it's 12 o'clock. But clocks do something tricky. There's this other hand that's moving. What is this guy? And he's moving really quickly. Going around, around. That's just the second hand. That counts time in seconds. Seconds happen very quickly. And as you can see, every time my second hand goes back up to the 12, the minute hand moves a little bit. Watch what the minute hand does. Actually, watch what the hour hand does as the minute hand moves, okay? You'll notice that that one's moving too. All right, we're going to stop it there. Take a look at the minute hand. I have the minute hand pointing to the 6. Okay? With the hour hand, wait a minute. It's not pointing to the 12, and it's not pointing to the 1. What hour could it be? Well, here's the secret. Anything here, from here to here, that belongs to the 12. So we're still in the 12th hour. It doesn't change over until the hour hand gets to the 1 exactly. So now this is 1 o'clock. If we keep going, you'll see the hour hand move as the minute hand moves. All right. We'll talk about minutes in a second. Okay? So that's our minutes. This is our hours, hour hand. It's not pointing to the 1, and it's not pointing to the 2. Well, if it's not pointing to the 2, it can't be 2 o'clock. It was at 1, not yet 2, so it's still 1. So anything here belongs to 1. You could kind of think that's his home. That's his home where he runs, okay? If you want to add, I'm going to come a little closer. If you can add some colors to your paper plate clock, and you'll see that anytime your hour hand, okay, is pointing in between, it belongs to the previous number, okay? So this whole track here, this whole space on the clock, that belongs to 12. He owns it. That's his, okay? This whole space here, from 3 to 4, this blue space, that belongs to 3. She owns that. I don't know why I called numbers he or her, but it doesn't matter. Number 3 owns this space, okay? If you want to think about it that way. So now let's talk about the minutes, okay? If you look closely at my wall clock, okay, you'll see all these little tiny lines in between. So in between 12 and 1, and if we count like a number line, because that's all a clock is, it's a number line, I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right on the 1, that's a 5. Those are your minutes, okay? Those are your minutes. So we know that when the minute hand is pointing to the 1, that's 5 minutes. And we know because we count 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When it gets to the 2, that's 10 minutes. So every big number is 5 minutes. That means we can go around the clock and count our minutes by 5 when our minute hand is pointing to one of the big numbers. Okay? So, let's practice that. Starting at 12, because 12 is o'clock and 12 is 0, we go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and then back to 0, or o'clock, back to o'clock. Always comes back to o'clock. Okay? This is a number line. Okay? It's the same thing as a clock. I can wrap it around my clock here. Go from 12 to 1. Let me get the camera and show you. Okay? It's the exact same thing. It goes around the clock. Starts at 12, goes all the way back to 12. Okay? And all those little lines in between, those are your minutes. All right. So let's practice telling time to the half hour. All right? We know that a full rotation is an hour. If we do half, our minute hand is pointing to the 6. So let's do minutes first. Or you can do hours first. You know what? Let's do hours first. I think that might be easier. What hour is it? Take a minute and think about it. It's not touching 1. It's not touching 2. But whose zone is it in? It's still in 1's zone. Yeah, that belongs to the 1. So the hour is 1. And if I were to write that down on a digital clock, it would look like this. 1 hour. And now let's do the minutes. So now we need to look at the long hand, the minute hand. And if we count by 5, starting from 12, we'll get the number of minutes. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 30 minutes. So it's 30 minutes past the hour. So what time is it on the clock? We'd say 1:30. It is 1:30. Let's try another one. I'm going to set my clock again to a different time. So much easier when I had the classroom instructional clock. Just saying. Okay. Take a look at it now. Start with the hour hand. The hour hand. Which zone is it in? It's not pointing to 11. Did not point to 11 yet. It's still in the 10 zone. Yes. So the hours would be 10. And for minutes, we need to look at the minute hand, which is this guy right here. And we can find that out counting by 5, starting from 12. Every big number. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 30 minutes. So we'd say that time on the clock is 10:30. All right. Now you're going to try one by yourself. I'm going to set my clock. And you try to figure out what time it is. I'll give you a moment to look at it. What time is it? Do you need a hint? Okay. Hour hand. What number is it pointing to or in its zone? Minute hand. What number is it pointing to? If you're counting minutes, you're counting all those little tiny lines, but we have a trick. We know how to skip count by 5s. Skip count by 5. So what time is it? Did you say 2:30? You're right. It is 2:30. You know what? That reminds me of a joke. What is a dentist's favorite time of the day? 2:30. 2:30. Okay, never mind. So, thank you for joining me. I hope that you do a few more examples. Practice, have your parent set a time for you on the clock to the half hour. Try telling the time, and you can even write it down on a digital clock. I'll see you guys later.